Hi, welcome to Promoting Cartographic Literacy and Recruitment through Campus Partnerships with Writing Faculty. I'm Dr. Joy Santee. I teach professional and technical writing at the University of Southern Indiana, and part of my research involves visual literacy, which includes maps. Back in 2016 at NACIS, I presented on this topic, Cartographic Curiosity, Promoting Interdisciplinary Thinking in General Education Through Maps. And at the time, I was making an argument for including cartography in more gen ed courses to help students learn critical visual literacy. One person in the audience pointed out that I was probably speaking to the choir, and they asked me what more could cartographers do to promote this. At the time, I asked cartographers to make more of their work processes visible so that students could understand how maps get made. But today, I have a little bit better answer. Today, what I want to talk to you about is how you can look for partnerships with writing faculty on your campuses or on campuses nearby. And what I want to do today is to talk about a few projects that require some pretty low investment, up to some that would require more time investment. But I also want to show how these can be recruitment opportunities for cartographers so they can connect with writing students and be ready to promote cartography to those students. So when you're looking to identify possible partners with writing faculty, one thing that I suggest is that you check faculty websites for your university and look for faculty who have teaching or research interests in technical writing, professional writing, visual rhetoric, or multimodal composition, which is just an English way of saying we teach documents that include words, but also sound, images, and other kinds of communication. You might also look for faculty who have academic degrees in rhetoric and composition, technical writing, or professional writing. Especially if they've finished these degrees in the last 10 years or so, these faculty are likely to be integrating visuals in their classes already and will be able to find a place for you and your work within the writing classes. Finally, there's probably someone on your campus with the title Director of Composition, and this person is usually in charge of general education writing courses, and they can help you connect with writing faculty who may be willing to work with you or who are working on visual communication in their courses already. So I want to start with some of these lower investment projects. First off, offer yourself to come in and be a guest speaker, especially if the class is already talking about visual communication or using maps. Having a guest speaker come in can provide a little bit of relief to the regular instructor. Students tend to like having guest speakers in, and it's a low investment way to connect with faculty in other disciplines. If you have a little bit more time, you might want to consider doing some guest consulting with the class and maybe come into the class 3 or 4 times and help them with projects that would relate to cartography. So for example, in my introductory technical writing course, one of the projects my students often do is to analyze disability access on our campus and in our community. And it would be really helpful to have a cartographer come in and talk to students about how they can make and use maps that would help support their research reports on that topic. Finally, classes that are covering professional writing sometimes do archival research. If you do research in cartographic archives, or if your school has cartographic archives available, that might be a possible potential project to explore. Now, that's how you can help writing instructors. But I want to talk about how writing classes could potentially help you as well. Maybe you need some written marketing materials for cartographic projects that have been completed. My classes could help with that. Maybe you want some help revising or editing grant applications or the reports after a grant-funded project is done. My classes could help with that. I teach grant writing, and so that would be a great fit. Another one might be providing recommendations to how a website could be revamped based on user experience or user design. The other thing you might look for is whether you have any documentation that needs to be written or updated. Things like manuals for student workers in your labs, interns, things like that. Now, student projects don't always go 100% according to plan. So one thing I recommend with campus partners is to find those projects that have kind of been on the back burner that maybe would be helpful to have done, but aren't necessary to the functioning of your lab on a day-to-day basis. That way, if something doesn't go right with the course projects, then it's not a big deal. But if it does, you've gotten some documentation or some other projects off that back burner and done. Now, here's a couple of other projects that might require a higher level of investment. And here I'm looking at the ways that classes could work together, possibly to do projects across different courses on the campus. Those cross-disciplinary projects might include development of maps as part of a project to advocate for social change in the community, or maybe to advocate for change on campus, where the cartography students are working on the maps and the writing students are working on the written aspects of those reports. There may also be opportunities to pursue service learning projects that support nonprofit organizations in your area, maybe ones that you're already working with, ones that are part of a grant writing class, or ones that you and your potential writing faculty partner could work on together. The other component here might be a scholarship of teaching and learning project. If your university supports and values this kind of research, there could be opportunity to publish with a writing faculty member on these larger cross-disciplinary projects. I haven't seen anything like that written yet. I'd like to find something that I could do with that as well, but SOTL projects have been growing in importance, and they really do help faculty members with their pedagogy down the road. So no matter what this partnership might look like for you, I really encourage you to see this as a recruitment opportunity. That means that you could work with those students to figure out ways to engage them in cartography. Now, most undergraduate students don't know a lot about cartography, but almost every single one of them has to take a writing class at some point, which means that if you're partnering with writing faculty, you can do some service for your department, but you could also put yourself out in front of these students as kind of a captive audience. If you're able to go in and guest speak or provide other partnership opportunities, I really recommend that you share your information, but also collect contact information from the students who might be interested in maybe taking a course or following up with you about other opportunities. That lets you make a connection with those students and follow up with them individually. They're more likely to respond positively, maybe take a class that you offer, or maybe participate in a project. No matter what, I really encourage you to show some cool maps, whatever that might be for you and your research, your work that you do. Anytime I'm showing students some interesting maps, they really start to understand how maps can be used and how complicated they can be, but also how artistic and how useful. The other thing I really see with my students is that they engage with cartography when they recognize that maps can provide problem-solving possibilities. They want to go change the world. They want to make the world a better place. And when they see that maps can play a role in that, that's when they become really engaged with me when I'm teaching visual literacy. Finally, if you have a chance, introduce them to some beginner level tools to allow them to start making maps. Even something as basic as Google My Maps or ArcGIS Story Maps, those introductions help students see that it's possible for them to make and use maps, and my students really respond well to that. So if you have an opportunity, I would recommend doing that. So I hope that this presentation has given you some ideas about how you can maybe brainstorm with faculty on your campus to make these partnerships between cartography and writing work. I welcome any questions that you have, any comments, and would be happy to help brainstorm. Thank you.